Good morning, class. Today we are going to talk about inborn errors of metabolism. So let me define first what are the inborn errors of metabolism. These are the errors which are transmitted by the parents to the children, and they are present in the genes, and they are genetically transmitted errors. And some are autosomal dominant, some are recessive, some are in the form of traits. आवाज जा रही स्टार्ट कर दिया Sorry. So some are in the form of dominant, some are recessive, and some are recessive traits. So dominant means when both the parents they have the error, and their child will definitely 100% will transmit that disease. Uh, Recessive means that they are partially present in both of the parents, or one parent might be having the disease and the other will not, so it will be transmitted. There are chances of 25 to 50% chances of transmission of this error to the newborn child. And some parents they have traits in their genes, but it might not be necessary that whole the lot of their kids will have the disease. It might occur in them, or it might not. So these errors, they are classified according to their metabolism, and these errors, they are caused by the deficiency of amino acids. Mainly they are protein, when there is some defect in the metabolism of protein. Some errors are caused by the disorders of carbohydrate metabolism. Some are due to porphyrin metabolism, and some are due to steroid metabolism. And they can be larger molecule defects, and there can be smaller molecule defects. The larger molecules, they come in larger molecules. The substances which are involved are when there is disorder in the metabolism of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, lipids. And in smaller molecules, the constituents of the cells, like there could be error in the mitochondria, or there could be error in the lysosome, or there could be error in the uh, uh, nucleus. So these are the there could be these are the disorders. The classification is based on number one is disorders of amino acid metabolism. In this, we come across examples are phenylketonuria, alkaptonuria, and homocystinuria. There are so many disorders of inborn errors, but we will discuss only few of them because according to your UHS syllabus specification, all diseases are not included. Few of them we will discuss after letting you know the classification and their sign and symptoms. So these phenylketonuria, alkaptonuria, homocystinuria, these are uh, common, very common, like 1 in 200,000 people. So disorders of carbohydrate metabolism, in this we come across galactosemia, glycogen storage disease. You can match the disease name with the major component, like if the disorders of carbohydrate, so galactosemia and glycogen, galactose and glycogen, these are two components of carbohydrates, you know. And if they are amino acid, so there is breakdown, the error in the breakdown and their composition in the amino acid chain. So disorders of porphyrin metabolism, this include acute intermittent porphyrias. Disorders of purine pyrimidine metabolism, in this we come across Lesch-Nyhan syndrome. Disorders of steroid metabolism, this includes congenital adrenal hyperplasia. You have gone through this topic while in your previous lectures. Disorders of mitochondrial function, it comes Kahn-Sayre syndrome. Disorders of Perioxymal oxysomal function, Zellweger syndrome, and disorders of lysosome storage disease. The list is very long, but these are some of the few disorders we come across in our routine practice, not every now and then, but patients are rare, but when they come across, you will come to know by their history and your family history. So family history is very important while taking the history of the patient. So these are the general signs and symptoms of IEM. IEM stands for inborn error of metabolism. So these are the general symptoms. When a child is born, their reflexes are checked. Then everything is checked on the newborn baby by a pediatrician. So each action of the baby, it tells you something, that their biochemistry is okay, the CNS okay, CVS okay, kidneys, their movement, reflexes, autonomic system. So by checking thorough checkup on the newborn baby, you will get many more information. You will see poor feeding. These are the common symptoms which you come across in IEM. So this is poor feeding, or child will not take the feeding of the mother, feed of the mother. And there will be periods of difficulty in counseling, periods of difficulty in awakening. Child sleep will be disturbed. There will be vomiting, failure to thrive, hypotonia. I hope these all terminologies you know their meaning. I need not to explain each and every word. Hypotonia, when the tone of the muscle is decreased. So hypertonia, when this is exaggerated. Tachypnea is the increase in respiration. Tachycardia, increase in the heart rate. Hypoglycemia, acidosis, dehydration, especially if this is recurrent. Apnea, seizures, and altered mental status, sudden unexplained death, cardiomegaly, arrhythmias, shock, and loss of thermoregulation. Temperature is not controlled. So these 10 to 15 signs and symptoms, these are very common, although they could be present in other major diseases, but this is the complex of signs and symptoms which you see in IEM children. So some of the disorders, they have their typical stints, like maple syrup disease, urine disease. This is maple syrup is a very famous syrup of the Canada. In Canada, they on their aeroplanes, their flags, they have a maple leaf on. This is their international leaf. When you go to Canada, you will see on their aeroplanes, on their T-shirts, on their flag, maple tree, maple leaf is found. So this is maple syrup has a characteristic of smell. So maple syrup urine disease, this disease name is given because the smell resembles to the maple syrup. So maple syrup urine disease, the odor is maple. And isovaleric acidemia or glutaric acidemia type 2, this is sweaty feet. They have sweaty feet. Their feet are always full of sweat. They will never get dry. So in cystinuria, and these all disease names are IEM diseases. I'm just telling you the few specific disorders because they have the smell in their sweating or from their mouth. So this is typical smell, and if you come across this thing, your attention should be diverted towards that disorder. So cystinuria and diarrhea type 1, they have sulfur-like smell. And this all depends upon if you already know these smells. If you do not know the smell, what sort of smell is this, you will not come across what sort of error is going on. So for assessing the patients, you will have to assess yourself first, whether your sense of smell is okay, and you know the smell of these things. So tyrosinemia type 1 boiled cabbage. If you ever smell a boiled cabbage, so tyrosinemia type 1 patient have boiled cabbage like smell. So trimethyl aminuria or dimethylglycine dehydrogenase deficiency, there is old fishy smell. If you put the fish for a long time, it gives a peculiar smell. So that sort of smell these patients have. So multiple carboxylase deficiency. Have you ever smelled a cat's urine? So that smell, their sweat smell is like that. And phenylketonuria, mousy smell. So we are not going into the detail of these all disorders, just to let you know that few diseases of IEM, they have peculiar smell in their sweat or their mouth. So these are few of them. So there are some initial laboratory investigations for a child with suspected IEM. We will go through the blood gases, glucose level, plasma ammonia, plasma amino acids, serum electrolytes, serum liver function test, blood lactate and pyruvate levels, complete blood cell count with differential, then urine analysis, complete examination of urine, then urine reducing substances, then urine organic acid and amino acids. And note is written that plasma in urine should be frozen or assay of additional metabolites of hormones, because if you are going to this note is for the lab technicians, but the doctor should know that whenever you're going to get a hormone level, their plasma and hormone level is mostly done in the urine, but in the plasma as well. So these samples, they should be frozen, and sample is refrigerated. Uh, if you are going to put the sample in the refrigeration, you will keep it at 180 degrees centigrade, minus 180 degrees centigrade. This is just for by the way. So number one, diseases. We will discuss only few diseases. Out of those diseases, the most common ones or the most known ones are, number one is phenylketonuria. This is ARD, stands for autosomal recessive disease. Phenylketonuria is an autosomal recessive disease, and this is inherited disorders, and the cause is amino acid phenylalanine, which is built up in the body. Phenylalanine. This is an amino acid, and this accumulation of phenylalanine takes place in the body due to the enzyme phenylalanine transaminase. The deficiency of that enzyme will cause the accumulation of phenylalanine in the body, and this is caused by a defect in the gene. The gene that helps create the enzyme, that enzyme which I talked about, to break down phenylalanine. So phenylalanine transaminase, it breaks down phenylalanine into the product components. So that enzyme is deficient in these people, and this is a genetic defect. Without the enzyme necessary to process phenylalanine, a dangerous buildup can develop when a person with phenylketonuria eats food, because certain substances, food substances, they have phenylalanine in them that contain protein, or eat aspartame, an artificial sweetener. So aspartame is an artificial sweetener, and some products, food products, they have this product in this substance in them, and this can eventually lead to serious health problem because the enzyme is not there in the body. So what will happen? The breakdown of this component will not take place, and this component, raw component, will accumulate in the body cells. So this will cause a serious health problem. And for the rest of their life, people with PKU, babies, children, and adults, they need to follow a diet that limit phenylalanine, which is found mostly in food that contain protein. So this is a lifelong precaution which the people should take once the diagnosis is made that the child or baby or adult have PKU. So the severity depends upon number one is classical phenylketonuria, and number two is less severe form. The most severe form of this disorder is called classic PKU, and the enzyme needed to convert phenylalanine is missing. This already told you, or severely reduced. This result in high levels of phenylalanine, and when this substance accumulate in the brain cells. So what will happen? Anything other than normal will lead to disaster. So there will be brain damage. And in less severe form, some people have small amount of phenylalanine, not that much, which is required by the body. So they develop less severe form of PKU. So in mild or moderate forms, the enzyme retains some function. So phenylalanine levels are not as high, resulting in a smaller risk of significant brain damage. Whenever there is a brain damage, either this is small part, moderate, medium part, or large part, this is going to cause a disaster. And if this is in brain, so this is more injurious. So sign and symptoms in phenylketonuria. Some of the newborn babies, they do not show any symptoms. So without treatment, babies usually develop signs of PKU within few months, because when a child is born, nobody knows what the how the baby will behave. But this is the time period which tells you that you, after seeing some signs and symptoms, after seeing the reflexes of the baby, after they include musty odor. I told you there is a mousy smell in the sweat. So a musty odor in the breath, skin, or urine. This is caused by too much phenylalanine in the body. Everything is due to phenylalanine. So I do not need to tell you every time that phenylalanine is accumulating in the body. You should keep in mind that phenylalanine is doing every disturbance. So there will be musty odor in the breath, skin, or urine. Neurological problems, these include seizures. There will be jerky movement of the baby, skin rashes like eczema, then fair skin and blue eyes. These people have fair skin and blue eyes because phenylalanine cannot transform into melanin. So their melanin is another blessing in the skin. Our normal skin color is due to melanin, and this is the end product of phenylalanine. So when the enzyme is deficient, so phenylalanine is raised in the body. The pigment is responsible for, melanin is a pigment that is responsible for hair and skin tone. Then abnormally small head, these people, they have microcephaly. Hyperactivity, child will be more active than normal. Then intellectual disability, delayed development of the reflexes, behavioral, emotional, and social problems, and psychiatric disorders. So these are the common signs and symptoms with children of PKU. For a child to inherit PKU, both the mother and father must have it and pass on the defective gene to the children. So this pattern of inheritance is called autosomal recessive. Autosomal recessive. This is autosomal recessive disorder because both mother and father were normal, and they have 25% of genes like this. So this defect is transmitted to the child, and if these two genes, I mean there are so many genes which are inherited from mother to the child and father to the child. So if bad luckily, if both of these 25% genes unite, they will cause 50% of the siblings to become prominent with this disease. But if the traits are transmitted, as both parents are transmitting this disease, so this is called autosomal recessive disorder. Complications, untreated PKU can lead to irreversible brain damage and marked intellectual disability beginning with the first few months of life. Then there are neurological problems like seizures, tremors, then behavioral and emotional and social problems in older children and adults, and major health problem and developmental problem. You can assume what could be the problem in society and with the child. Prevention is follow a low phenylalanine diet. Now you should know what is a low phenylalanine diet. Women with phenylketonuria can prevent birth defect by sticking to or returning to a low phenylalanine diet before becoming pregnant. If you have PKU, talk to your doctor before you start trying to conceive. Then a low phenylalanine diet, you can go on the Google and search it out. Then consider genetic counseling. If you have PKU, a close relative with PKU or a child with PKU, you may also benefit from genetic counseling before becoming pregnant. Counseling is very necessary if you know that you have a defect. So before counseling, I think there should be a mandatory test before marriage of each couple. I wish it could happen. Some of the tests are very important, like thalassemia, then this inborn error of metabolism, then HCV, hepatitis B, HIV. These tests are very compulsory for a couple if he or she are going to get married. These tests must be done in every couple. So I wish it could happen. A doctor who specializes in medical genetics can help you better understanding how PKU is passed through your family tree. So he or she can also help determine your risk of having a child with PKU, and this all comes under the heading of genetic counseling. And you should know the low phenylalanine diet. For low phenylalanine diet, the substance, all those food components that have aspartame in them. So you should not be taken. It should not be taken. So that was all about the phenylketonuria. Sometimes scenario may come about this phenylketonuria. This is very commonly asked question in your exam. So number 2 is maple syrup urine disease, MSUD. This is this is a metabolic disorder, and this is caused by a deficiency of branch chain alpha keto acid dehydrogenase complex, BKAD, BCKAD, branch chain keto acid dehydrogenase complex. So this is leading to buildup of chain of amino acid. These amino acids are leucine, isoleucine, and valine, and their toxic byproduct is keto acid in the blood and urine. So this disease is notorious for accumulating keto acids in the body, in the blood and the urine. And I told you that maple syrup like smell will come out of their urine and sweat and from their mouth. So because there is accumulation of keto acids in the body. They include leucine, isoleucine, and valine. These are the 3 amino acids which come into it. So, and this is due to, you should know which is the enzyme which is deficient. This is alpha chain, branch chain alpha keto acid dehydrogenase. This is the enzyme which is deficient in these people. If this is untreated, life-threatening, you know, ketoacidosis, this is producing metabolic acidosis in the body, and there is so many side effects of metabolic acidosis. So what will happen? This is untreated. The patient can go into coma or respiratory failure. It could occur within 7 to 10 days, and most will die within several months upon any lapse of treatment. If you are not treating this patient, classic MSUD can cause brain damage. There is permanent brain damage, and there is no use of without brain, body is of no use. So people with the disease are particularly prone to crisis during illness, infection, fasting, and after surgery. So people with this disease, if they go under the infection, fasting status, or after surgery, you know, in the fasting states, we produce keto acids in our body. In hyperglycemia, uncontrolled hyperglycemia, we produce ketoacidosis. Then in surgery, because there is catabolism in the body, so ketone bodies they accumulate. In infection, any sort of infection, they result in the accumulation of ketoacid accumulation. So this is not tolerable with the life. This is an inherited disorder, I told you, in which the body is unable to process certain protein building blocks. Same thing. If untreated, it can lead to seizure, coma, and death. How do people get maple syrup urine disease? So this is a question. So this is an inherited disorder. It runs in the families. A child is born with MSUD when both parents are carriers of 3 specific gene mutation, and their child inherits copies of these altered genes, 1 copy from each parent. So these copies, they are present in the genes, and they are transmitted, 1 from each parent, to the child with Gerd's disease. Diagnosis is made by analysis of the urine and plasma. You can detect high levels of ketoaciduria, and by blood analysis, there will be abnormally high levels of these amino acids. And enzymatic diagnosis may be confirmed through the analysis of white blood cells, lymphocytes, or cells taken from an affected individual's skin. Your skin will also tell the tissue typing. This is called tissue typing, or skin by skin examination, because this amino acids accumulate and they give a maple smell from the skin, sweat, urine, plasma, everywhere this smell is present. And skin test, you can find out this sort of disorders. So as a result, these amino acids and their byproducts, they build up in the body, because high levels of these substances are toxic to the brain and other organs. You know, when something is going to accumulate in the body, this is also going to accumulate in the brain, because this is circulating all around the body via the bloodstream. So their accumulation leads to serious health problems, and the ultimate mode is death of the patient. Coma, seizures, and death. That was all about the maple syrup urine disease. These their names and their disorders, just to give you an information about what these diseases, what are the patients they look like in these diseases. So number 3 IEM is L-captonuria. So this is a recessive trait. So people with L-captonuria, they have a trait. Not whole gene is involved, but there are few traits in the genes. So L-captonuria, this is also an inherited condition that causes urine to turn black when exposed to the air. So the 3 major features of L-captonuria are dark color urine, ochronosis. Ochronosis is the accumulation of pigment in the skin, ochronosis. A buildup of dark pigment in connective tissues such as cartilage and skin, and arthritis. Obviously, when something abnormal is accumulating in the joint, this is causing arthritis. There will be difficulty in the movement of smaller and larger joints, in the spine and larger joints. The defect is due to the gene HGT. This HTG, this is the name of the gene, and this is homogentisic acid. HGT stands for homogentisic acid, and this makes the body unable to properly break down certain amino acids, like the amino acids which are involved in this are tyrosine and phenylalanine. So as a result, a substance called homogentisic acid builds up in the skin and other body tissues, and the acid leaves the body through the urine. So urine will give smell. So people with this disease, their urine becomes darker, brown or black when this is exposed to air, because by coming into contact with the oxygen, there is a chemical reaction taking place, So the color changes to black. There is no cure for alkaptonuria, but there is treatment for some individuals, signs and symptoms. We can treat the sign and symptoms. Like if a person has arthritis, you can give him some medicines to relieve the pain, to maximize the mobility of the joint, or symptomatic treatment. Not the cause cannot be treated, but you can do the symptomatic treatment of the patient. And this is a chronic progressive disorders, and fatal acute metabolic complications can occur. This is a metabolic disorder, and metabolic complications, you know what happens. Ultimately, the brain is affected, and the death is the ultimate result. So number 4, IEM is homocystinuria. This is also an autosomal recessive disorder, and this is a disorder of methionine metabolism. This is you should know which type of disorder is this, but what is the mechanism of this disorders. If this is enzymatic defect, which enzyme is involved, and what is the result, what is the major components, and what is the ultimate end products, and where the defect is lying. So homocystinuria is a disorder of methionine metabolism. So this is leading to abnormal accumulation of homocysteine and its metabolites. The metabolites are homocysteine, homocysteine complex, and others in the blood and urine. Obviously, they come in the blood or pass through the urine. So these metabolites are not found in appreciable quantities in the blood and urine, but they are there. This is autosomal recessive disorder. Homocystinuria is a genetic disorder in which the body cannot break down a particular amino acid. This is also an amino acid, and this is also transmitted from the parents to the child in an autosomal recessive form. Obviously, both parents are transmitting this gene to the child. So, which means that the 2 copies of an irregular gene must be present for its development. Signs and symptoms of this disease are discoloration of the lenses in the eye, nearsightedness, abnormal blood clot, osteoporosis or weakening of the bones, osteolytic activity is more, learning disabilities, developmental problems, chest deformities such as protrusion or caved in appearance of the breastbone. The chest do not like normal. Either this look like a caved in, or there is protrusion. This is more prominent outside, and long spindly arms and legs. So the appearance is not so normal. Whenever you find anything away from the normal, you should have a suspect of some disease. Incidence is not so common. This is 1 in 200,000 to 335,000 people worldwide. And the disorder appears to be more common in some countries like Ireland, Germany, Norway, and Qatar, not in Pakistan, but this is in the world. Many factors are held responsible to raise the level of homocysteine. Among them are poor diet, poor lifestyle, especially smoking, high intake of coffee, alcohol intake, and some medicines they also cause, diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, and poor thyroid function. These are some of the factors which aggravate or which lead towards the this disease. How homocystinuria is diagnosed? Number 1 is genetic testing to look for one of the genes involved in the disorder. Number 2 is an amino acid screen of the blood and urine to check for excess homocysteine. Number 3 is a test to determine the body's response to consuming methionine. Number 4 is liver biopsy and enzyme assay to check the enzymatic activity. These are the 4 tests which are used to diagnose the homocystinuria. Genetic testing, amino acid screening in the blood and urine, then liver biopsy, and to see the enzymatic activity. Treatment is a patient with known cardiovascular disease This is generally recommended to treat with folic acid, 1 milligram per day, vitamin B6, 10 milligram per day, or vitamin B12, 0.4 milligram per day. Folic acid can be increased up to 5 milligram per day to reach a goal of lowering homocysteine level, because folic acid is an important substance to reduce the level of homocysteine. So this is used in their treatment. Number fifth inborn error of metabolism is galactosemia, which means galactose in the blood. Galactose, you know, this is carbohydrate from the carbohydrate metabolism. This is one of the form of sugar. So which means galactose in the blood, it refers to a group of inherited disorders that impair the body's ability to process and produce energy from a sugar called galactose. When people with galactosemia ingest food or liquids containing galactose, undigested sugars, they build them in the blood because they do not have the mechanism to convert the galactose into glucose. So galactose will accumulate in the blood. They will develop galactosemia. So they are unable, number one, people with galactosemia, they are unable to fully break down the simple sugar galactose. Galactose makes up one half of the lactose. So galactose, when this is broken down, it forms lactose. This sugar is found in the milk. Lactose is found in the milk. And if an infant with galactosemia is given milk, so substances made from galactose, they build up in the body system. So they damage the liver, brain, kidneys, and eyes. So people with galactosemia cannot tolerate any form of milk. They will not, child with, you will come to know that feed is not good, or child is not tolerating the feed. He's vomiting all the time. And so one must be careful about eating other food containing lactose. So the child milk is changed. Soya milk is most popular to give this form of diagnosis. This is how the child look like. Galactosemia damages the brain. There is cataract, jaundice, enlarged liver. Because this product is going to accumulate in the liver, it enlarges the liver. Kidney damage, and infant is given milk, unmetabolized milk. Sugars build up and damage all these organs. So this is the diagram to show you how the child look like. Galactosemia. Signs and symptoms are, obviously, when these pigments are accumulating in any part of the body, so that part will become disturbed. So there are convulsions if they are in the brain, irritability, lethargy, poor feeding. The child baby refuses to eat formula containing milk, poor weight gain because carbohydrates are not being digested. So weight will fall. Yellow skin and whites of the eye, jaundice, vomiting. How will you diagnose it? By blood culture for bacterial infection in case of sepsis, enzymatic activity in the blood cells, then ketones in the urine. Prenatal diagnosis by directly measuring the enzyme galactose 1-phosphate uridyl transferase. This is the enzyme which is held responsible for galactosemia. So galactose 1-phosphate uridyl transferase is an enzyme which is held responsible for developing galactosemia. Reducing substance in the infant urine and normal or low blood sugar while the infant is being fed breast milk or a formula containing lactose. So reducing sugars will be found. You know, when we take carbohydrates, this is reduced to different forms of sugars. So these substances are found in the urine and blood. Test results may show amino acid in the urine or blood plasma, enlarged liver, fluid in the abdomen, and low blood sugar level. Treatment: people with this condition must avoid milk, as I told you, and they that contain milk, dry milk should not be given. Other foods that contain lactose, they should not be given. And read the product before buying the eatables. So you read their products, what the things are inside it. So infant can be fed soya formula. Soya formula is given to these people. Another lactose-free formula is given, meat-based formula or Nutramycin, a protein hydrolysate formula. Calcium supplements are recommended. So these are the things you can give to the baby instead of dry milk. Number 6 inborn error is amino acid urea. Excuse me. Amino acid urea, it occurs when the urine contains abnormally high amounts of amino acids. So in the healthy kidney, the glomeruli, they filter all the amino acids or increase in both protein synthesis and protein breakdown through protein oxidation with an overall positive nitrogen balance. When there is increased buildup of protein inside the body, this is positive nitrogen balance. And when you are losing protein, there is negative nitrogen balance. Signs and symptoms with amino acid urea is lethargy, irritability, poor feeding, vomiting, hyperventilation, grunting, respiration, seizures. Diagnosis required the demonstration of low or absent GALT enzyme activity in erythrocyte. There is an enzyme in the red blood cells which is responsible for the breakdown of these proteins and confirmation by genetic testing. Treatment is by withdrawal of lactose and galactose from the diet, which can be monitored by measurement of galactose 1 phosphate in blood cell. Galactose 1 phosphate in the blood cell. So this is the enzyme. Thank you. This was all about the inborn error of metabolism. These were some of the few inborn errors. This is not the whole list because we have a long list of these errors. Any questions regarding any question regarding hello? Please tell me, have you gone through all the slides? Have you gone through all the slides? Okay. Any question, boys and girls, please ask me. We are left with only few topics. These all clinical chemistry topics we have covered up till now. Uh, I'll tell you the list. You please confirm me. Is there anything missing in this list? Let me tell you. We have covered introduction to clinical chemistry, reference ranges, and conventional and SI unit. Renal functions are discussed, protein urea, causes of protein urea, and diagnosis. Then lab diagnosis of acid-base disorders. Then lab diagnosis of diabetes mellitus, liver function test, lab diagnosis of hyperlipidemia we will discuss tomorrow and its clinical present interpretation. I'll discuss it tomorrow with you. Then role of enzyme in the diagnosis of pancreatitis, this is left with. So these two topics are left. Then inborn errors are done today. Then lab diagnosis of endocrine disorders, we talked about them yesterday. Thyroid function test, adrenal function test, lab diagnosis of hyper and hypoparathyroidism. I think I should make a few slides for this topic too. So four topics. There is another topic, hormone estimation in diagnosis of infertility. And these four topics are left. So we still have 3 lectures with us. I will discuss tomorrow. We will discuss hyperlipidemia and 4 lectures are left with. So these will be discussed in coming 4 lectures. So do you have any questions or any query or any topic which is left behind? Because we have almost finished with the endocrine system and clinical chemistry system. Only 4 topics are left, which we are going to discuss in coming days. So do you have please any question? You are going to have your clinical chemistry test on 15th, 16th of this month and endocrinology test on 30th of this month. Guys, do you have any question? Clinical pathology के topics books में. Yes, these all topics, these all slides are being recorded by this DME. Your CR can request him and take these topics. You can revise these topics from my slides, no problem. Okay. Boys, where are you? No boy is talking about the topic. Boys are sleeping. Your attendance is 133 students. Total number of students, I think 154 or 155. So yeah, please send the topic. Which topic? These Mustafa also. Which topics? Clinical chemistry topics, beta? Whole clinical chemistry. Okay, I'll make a slide of, or you can, okay, I'll make a slide for the clinical chemistry topics. And how can I, do you have any mailing address? CR, your CR can give me your mailing address. Ali asked, you can give me your mailing address, I'll mail you. Please give me your mailing address. कार को भेजते हैं jobs let me copy your mailing address. Let me write down it. Dr. Ali Alvi dot 147 at gmail.com. Okay. And bit of one thing for your group, for your information, please don't mind it. You cannot put word doctor with your name until you have a PMTC degree with you. So if you have written it, obviously you are going to become a doctor, but you cannot put the word doctor until and unless you complete your degree. So this is for the rest of the class. So I'll mail you the clinical chemistry topics. Rest of the topics you can take from the DME. You can ask Mr. Irshad, or I forgot his name. They are sitting here. Muniba and Irshad, so many people sitting here. You can ask them for my recorded lectures for clinical chemistry. So okay. PUBG, what is this? Mustafa, what have you written? News. Yeah. PUBG, what is this PUBG? Public? PUBG stands for, beta, Mustafa? I didn't get it, PUBG. Public? What is this? Website, okay. Yes, this is not an ethical practice, beta. You are going to become a decent doctor. So before PMDC registration, you cannot apply this word. This is a criminal act. So I'm just giving you an information that you cannot put the word doctor with your name until and unless you pass your MBBS exam and get a degree registration from PMDC. So this is not an ethical practice. So this is just for information. Otherwise, so many people are putting doctor by their name, even the quacks and everybody is putting, but you are reasonable and decent doctors. So you should know what is the ethical practice. Okay. Any other question, beta? Thank you for making me understand. Please don't mind my words. Okay. And we are left with 4 topics: hyperlipidemia, pancreatic enzyme functions, infertility, and I will also make a slide for hypo and hyperparathyroid diagnosis. Hyper and hypoparathyroid gland. So these 4 topics are left, and tomorrow we are going to discuss about hyperlipidemia, and this topic is also important. 10 minutes are still there. Please ask me question, any question regarding this IEM. This is an easy topic, not so much difficult. Only the errors in the inborn error of metabolism are the basic defect in the genes, in the enzymatic activity, or the this is carbohydrate, proteins, and lipids fat defect, metabolic defects. So famous one I am telling you, and you should know only this much knowledge. Otherwise, there is a long list of inborn error of metabolism. Boys, any question? Have you got the full understanding of IEM, boys? Okay, tell me what is the basic defect of phenylketonuria from boys' side. Boys will give me the answer. Girls are taking active participation, but boys are a bit lazy. So boys will give me the answer. What is the basic defect in phenylketonuria? Is it autosomal dominant or autosomal recessive disorder? Anybody? Yes, good. Phenylalanine hydroxylase deficiency. Yes, very good. Is it also autosomal dominant or recessive disorder? What is the smell of this disorder? What does it smell like? Not maple, musty smell. Yes, maple serum uric disease. This is maple smell is of that disorder. This is mousy, musty smell. And what is the disorder in galactosemia? Where the defect lies in galactosemia? Where is the defect lying? Glucose 1-phosphate enzyme. Yes, this is carbohydrate metabolic defect. Glucose 1-phosphate enzyme. Yes. And in L-captonuria, what is the significant finding? In L-captonuria, what is the significant finding in the patient? Yes, black urine, black coloration. Not only the urine, there is black discoloration of the joints. Yes, good. Yes, in the joints, in the urine, cartilage, everywhere this black pigment can get deposit, even in the brain, and this gives the CNS symptoms. Yes, dark spots under the eyes, and everywhere where the pigment can get deposited will give the coloration to that area. This is the main ID point of the alkaptonuria, catching the MCQ. Any questions, boys? Are you clear with this topic? So give me your feedback about the endocrinology and clinical chemistry. How did you find this topic and how did you find my way of teaching? Can you give me the feedback? Was I able to make you understand this subject? Okay, what about rest of the class? Ali Ijaz is representing the whole class. So did you find it interesting or difficult, or this is a boring subject? This is very interesting. Actually, as a matter of fact, I think this endocrinology and clinical chemistry, if you know this subject, you can diagnose the disease very well. So you should read this subject with full interest and with full concentration, because the whole diagnosis, and you have seen that the whole diagnosis lies here. Good. I am happy that everybody is find it interesting. What about rest of the people? These are few 9-10 people. What about the rest of the class? Patho is quite boring. Yes, patho is boring, but it makes you the your the roots. Journal pathology makes the roots of your pathology, and rest of the systemic. These are the trees. What about the rest of the class? There are hardly 10-15 students who are giving me feedback, but your attendance is 133. Boys, rest of the class, I need your feedback, except Ali Sufyan, Aksa, Hafiza, Rana. Boys are sleeping, I think. Okay, class, this is the time to wind up the lecture. So, thank you very much for your feedback. Very much boring. Ayman Habib, very much boring. Which subject? Pathology, general pathology, or endocrinology? Ayman Habib, are you find it boring? Okay. Okay, class. Thank you very much for your cooperation and your feedback. Stay safe, stay healthy, and good luck to you. See you inshallah tomorrow with a new topic. Thank you. Bye.